So that was a really terrible entrance. Every single time I post a photo of a person, I always have people asking me, do you need a model release for that photo? Can you sell that photo? And so on today's episode, I thought as quickly as possible, I'm gonna try to simplify a really complicated subject matter, which is, do I need a model release? And kind of the differences between the idea of commercial and editorial photography, because that's usually the case. For example, yes, you need a model release, or a property release for that matter, if you're selling an image commercially. If you're selling an image editorially, or using an image editorial, no, you don't need a model release for the people in the frame. So to help understand that, I think let's start with the idea of what's a commercial image and what's an editorial image. A commercial image is an image that directly sells something. It's essentially a photo used in an ad. And that doesn't mean that the photo's used to make money. For example, if you have a Nat Geo magazine, that magazine makes money. The photos on the inside make the magazine money. But because they're not selling anything directly, it's not a commercial usage. It becomes editorial because Nat Geo is telling news stories. This magazine, for example, is full of images of people. You see there's people in that photo, there's people in that photo, there's people here. But this is a magazine about the Lofoten Islands where we are right now, and it's basically just an editorial showing you the various different things that you can do in the Lofoten Islands. And because it's not selling anything, they didn't need a model release for any of the people in this book. But if all of a sudden this person at this view was in this photo and somewhere on this page it was an ad saying like Norwegian Airlines flights to Lofoten Islands, 79 euros or something like that, or kayak the Lofoten Islands with Lofoten Island kayakers or something like that, then this page becomes an ad and all of a sudden this person in the frame you need a model release for. So as a photographer trying to sell photos, this becomes really important because you need to understand who you're potentially selling your images to. So for example, if I'm selling this image to Eddie Bauer, I need a model release because they're hoping to use this as an ad. But if I'm hoping to sell this to a magazine like Nat Geo, Condé Nast, something like that, I don't necessarily need a model release because they're going to be using the image editorially. So for that reason, it's important to kind of understand how you're selling images or how you're hoping to sell images. If you just go out in the field and you take a bunch of photos and there's people in it, they have to be sold as editorial. When you upload to stock, there's usually a little tick box that you click and it'll say editorial only or editorial. You click that box and it won't be sold commercially, it'll only be sold editorially. But if you can get a model release, you don't have to click that box, and then it can be sold either commercially or editorial, and it has way more value. So the question I always get asked is, do I get model releases for the photos I take? And generally I don't, because I'm not these days really concerned about chasing commercial sales. If my images sell editorial, that's great, that's cool, but I'm not really chasing commercial work maybe like I used to. But that being said, if I go out in the field and I'm shooting a commercial shoot for Eddie Bauer, and Jody's modeling some Eddie Bauer clothing for me, I need to get her to sign a model release so that I can send those images to Eddie Bauer and they can use them commercially. If I'm just taking a photo of Jody on a mountaintop for my own Instagram account or Facebook or my blog or YouTube or whatever, I don't need her to sign a model release. And it's kind of the same with video. So for example, if I'm filming here in the Lofoten Islands and there's people obviously in all my video frames, even though YouTube pays me 0.0001 cents per view, I'm not selling anything directly, so I don't actually need a model release from any of the people in the video, if that makes sense. That being said, if this was a video kind of advertising the Lofoten Islands or advertising Norwegian Airlines here in the Lofoten Islands, all of a sudden I would need model releases for all the people in there because the video would be directly selling a product. The video would essentially becoming an advertisement, a commercial. So video and photo kind of work the same. Properties are a whole different ballgame. You never really know, honestly, which buildings you can use commercially and which you can't. The classic famous example is of the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower, when it's not lit up in the daytime, you can use it commercially. But as soon as it becomes lit up at night, you can't use it commercially, then you can only use it editorial. So it's a complicated matter, and I hope that this video kind of simplified that. The basic idea And I'll just drive home this fact one more time. The basic idea is a commercial image or commercial usage is only when a photo or a video is selling something directly. That photo needs to be absolutely directly selling something. Otherwise, you don't need a model release. And how do you get a model release? There's a great app, although it's maybe a little bit overcomplicated, called Easy Release, and it's available on Android and iPhone, I believe. And it's smart to always have that on your phone because you never know when an image is going to be so good that you might want a commercial signature for it. So this situation actually happened to me a couple years ago. I was trying to take Eddie Bauer photos at Devil's Bridge in Arizona, and I just saw this group of 4 people that were awesome for a photo, and I asked them all to put on some Eddie Bauer gear and go stand there and pose together, the 4 of them, and they did that. And because I had Easy Release on my phone, I could then get them to all to sign a release form for me so that I could use that image commercially. So having an app like that is really, really handy in the field, even if you don't think you're gonna use it. I probably only use it once or twice a year, but it does come in handy. You can also like download a release form, a model release, and have just a couple copies sitting in your camera bag at all times, just in case you come across something that you really, really wanna use commercially. So a lot of photographers will keep like 3 or 4 model releases in their bag with a pen that they pull out in case of emergency. And I think that's it for today's video, guys. I hope that really clears things up. I posted a blog post about this over on my website, brendansadventures.com, if you want to have a look at that, with some links to some model releases and the apps and stuff like that. So that's over there if you're interested. If you have any questions, the best thing to do is drop a comment in the comment section here on YouTube, and I'll try to get back to as many as possible. As for the next videos are fun ones. They're vlogs from out in the field, both in the Lofoten Islands and Wales, and then on to Patagonia with Thomas Heaton. So lots of really cool stuff coming up, and I hope to see you on the next one. Peace.